Well, your honest opinions. If SMU loses to Clemson by 10 plus points, do you think they should get in over Alabama? I hate the idea that SMU could hurt their case while Alabama is sitting at home, but SMU would be 0-2 versus top 25 teams. Alabama's 3-1. SMU has 0 good wins. For anybody that watches college football to think that the committee's not going to have a legit and serious conversation if SMU loses, who should get in, Alabama or SMU, you just don't know what you're talking about. You know why I'm here. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 350K before Christmas. Let's keep it pushing. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope all of you had a great Friday. Hope all of you had a great week. If not, sit back, relax. Hope this video can make it a little bit better. And we got to talk about a very interesting topic. And that is no other than what's going to happen in the college football rankings if SMU loses to Clemson. We all know what's going to happen if they win, but if they lose, whew. That's where things start to get a little dicey. I was going to say that's where things get spicy, but that sounded kind of weird. Now that I think about it, dicey kind of sounded corny too, but let's just roll with it. Also in this video, I'm going to give you my picks for the games this weekend. I decided not to do some big prediction and preview video because number one, I didn't see a lot of people requesting it, and number two, it just seems like championship weekend ain't what it used to be since, like, for example, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, Penn State, they're all getting in. I know some people are going to say, but Matt, the winner of the game gets a first round bye. I don't think that's as big as a deal as some people are trying to make it out to seem. Rather, I'm going to give you my predictions for the games, and yeah, that's what we're going to talk about in tonight's video. Strap in, buckle up, get your snack, get your popcorn, get your favorite meal you like to eat when you watch the video, because trust me, I do the same thing, but I should have come Let's get into it. Alright, first things first, let me give you these predictions. Do you want a prediction for the Big 12 Championship? Do we even have Big 12 fans? I'll give it to you. Oh yeah, tonight, I'm going to take Boise State, but I wouldn't be shocked if UNLV wins that game. I'll take the Fighting Ashantinties in that one. Saturday at 11 a.m., we got Iowa State and Arizona State. Both of them are solid, nothing special, but I just tend to gravitate towards this Arizona State team a little bit more, so I'm going to roll with them. Heading into the big-time games, though, in the SEC Championship, we got the Georgia Bulldogs and the Texas Longhorns. As we all know, in matchup number one, Texas got completely eviscerated by Georgia. Wasn't even close, and I'm willing to bet this one's not going to be the same. If it winds up being the same thing, you got to give all the credit in the world to Georgia, but it's hard not just to beat a team twice, but to blow a team out twice in one season. Georgia is similar to Alabama this season. You don't know which version of them you're going to get. Sometimes they look like the best team in the nation. Other times, they don't even look like a top 50 team. I tell you this much, if they come out flat like they did against Georgia Tech, they're going to get blown out. With Texas, though, you have the argument of, well, dang, they still ain't beat a top 25 team. I know what some people are going to say. Well, Matt, last week they beat Texas A&M. Got bad news for you, buddy. They're not ranked anymore, so technically, still haven't beat a top 25 team. This one's a coin toss. You just don't know which version of Georgia you're going to get, and that's what it comes down to. And it's not even like Carson Beck is the X factor, because we saw it against Georgia Tech. His wide receivers don't help him out, and the offensive line, they ain't too much better. I'm willing to bet that Kirby Smart has them guys fired up, and they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to be clicking on all cylinders. However, I think the Sarnado is going to have Texas clicking on all cylinders as well. I don't know why, but every single time this week I thought about this game, I've been leaning towards Texas, so I'm going to roll with my gut. I'll take the Texas Longhorns in this one, 27 to Georgia's 24. At 7 p.m., we got Penn State and Oregon. I'm not going to pander to you, not into the slightest. Nobody, including me, is picking Penn State to win this game. I got the Duckies. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm going to pick Penn State, because I am not. As do I. Oregon's only favored by 3.5. That kind of shocks me. I feel like they should be about a 7 or 8 point favorite, but that's just me. And it comes down to this for me. Until James Franklin can win a big football game, y'all know how I feel about Penn State. They're irrelevant on the grand scheme of things, and I don't take them serious. If you want me to take you serious, it's as simple as this. You got to win a big game. At 7 p.m., and this leads me to our next topic perfectly, we got the SMU Mustangs versus the Clemson Tigers. Woo-wee! You want to talk about the battle of mid? All right, I'm chilling. Clemson kind of mid, but SMU, well, is SMU mid? I don't know. It's so hard to evaluate this SMU team. They're just like Boise State. They ain't played nobody. As where it stands right now, SMU is 0-1 against top 25 teams. And you know who beat them? Overrated BYU. You lost to the BYUs. Come on, man. Fortunately enough, though, for SMU, you're not playing some big and bad mighty Georgia, Texas, Oregon, any teams like that. You're playing Clemson, and they're just slightly above average this year. They're not even a good football team. Don't get me wrong, Clemson's all right, but let's not try to act like this is the Clemson of the old days with Deshaun Watson. SMU is favored in this matchup by 2.5 points. Not too sure why, because I just don't know what you point to for SMU and say, oh yeah, this is why I like them. They barely beat Nevada this year, skimmed past Duke in overtime. I think the best thing on their resume is a 7-point win against Louisville. SMU's a solid football team, kind of like the Big 12 teams, Arizona State and Iowa State, but it's nothing that's going to knock your socks off. I said this game was the battle of mid, obviously kind of joke when I said that. Realistically speaking, it's like the battle of slightly above mid. The ACC is hot garbage, and if it sounds like I'm crapping on that conference, it's because I am. That conference is trash. But all that being said, I'm not too sure why anybody would pick SMU to win this game, because Clemson has more talented players, I believe, top to bottom. They got a better coaching staff, and they're going to pull this one out. SMU reminds me a ton of the 13 seed in March Madness that played cupcakes all year in their crappy conference, went 30-4. They make it to the Sweet 16, and then they realize, oh yeah, there's levels to this. You made it to the Sweet 16, and that's cool and all. It's all fine and dandy. We'll applaud you for that, but this is where the journey ends. And like I said, Clemson ain't too good this year, but I think they're better than SMU. I do respect the fact that SMU has won 11 games, but it's kind of like Boise. You ain't played anybody, and I'm going to continue to say that. Give me Clemson in that one. I'll take the Dabo Sweeneys 31 to SMU's. Let's say 21. I like a little 10-point win for Dabo. That being said, let's get into the controversial stuff. I tweeted this out earlier today. If you don't follow the Twitter, it's on the screen. Feel free to do so. Want your honest opinions. If SMU loses to Clemson by 10-plus points, do you think they should get in over Alabama? I hate the idea that SMU could hurt their case while Alabama is sitting at home, but SMU would be 0-2 versus top 25 teams. Alabama's 3-1. SMU has 0 good wins. This tweet, as to when I'm looking at it, has close to 100 replies, so let's check out what some of you got to say. This is coming from Ben. Shout out to Ben. As a Gator fan / SEC fan, it is a hard no. You cannot punish a team that played an extra game. Making the conference championship has to mean something. Great comment. Thank you for leaving that. And I'm in the same boat. I even stated it in the original post. I hate the idea that SMU could hurt their playoff case by playing in an extra game in which Alabama is sitting at home eating cheesy puffs. Y'all don't understand how much I hate it. However, if the goal of the committee is to put the 12 best teams in there and SMU gets beat by 30, how could you say SMU is better than Alabama? I know Alabama didn't play, but it's not even about that. It's about putting the best 12 teams in there. In my opinion, I think SMU should. SMU, yes, doesn't have a top 25 win, but they also don't have bad losses like Bama does, like against Vandy in Oklahoma. Great point. But Bama will get in due to big money and the brand. Frisky Dingo says, yes, because Bama sucks. Thank you, Frisky Dingo, for that. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it. Bama sucks, but to each your own. If it's going to be based on the best teams get in, SMU doesn't meet the eye test. I honestly believe there are teams that won't get in that would beat the brakes off SMU, not taking anything from them, but there's no argument to be made for SMU if they lose. That's just my opinion. And I agree 10,000%. That's what I've been saying. And I already know there's going to be people running to the comment section. Matt's a Bama fan. Shut up, nerd. This ain't about Bama. This is about SMU not playing anybody, and there's nothing to point at on their resume and say, oh yeah, that's a big-time win. That's if they lose to Clemson. And I didn't even realize how weak their schedule was until I started taking a look at it. I was like, holy crap, they for real ain't playing nobody. And I know the Bama haters don't want to hear this, but the committee will probably be looking at SMU like a Boise State. Look at Boise State's resume and look at SMU's. It ain't too much different. You got a lot of people clamoring about, oh, well, even if SMU loses, they should be in. Well, notice how people ain't saying that about Boise. Is SMU's resume that much better than Boise's? Heck no. You can make a legit case and argument that Boise's resume is better just due to the fact they only lost to Oregon by 3 points. So it's kind of the same thing, and let me ask you a question. If Boise has to win their conference championship to get in, and they're 11-1, why doesn't SMU? And it's why I asked the question on Twitter, because I just wanted to hear all you guys' different opinions, because it is a good debate. Jared Porter says, shout out to Jared, speaking honestly, all BS aside, Alabama knew the importance of going into OU and demolishing that team. Not only did they do the complete opposite, they gave up. They told the committee, we don't want to end with that performance. There's no stat you can show me that's more glaring than that loss. They simply gave up. As a fan, I'd rather see SMU. Interesting. Great point from Jared. Thank you for that comment. Also like this one, short, simple, and sweet. SMU didn't get blown out by an unranked team. You're right, 100% right, but I don't think the committee really holds that loss that Alabama had against Oklahoma against Bama too much due to the fact I think it was senior night for Oklahoma and it was on the road in a hostile environment. I'm not trying to make a case for Bama. I'm just trying to tell you what the committee's thinking because I want you to realize something. They put Bama ahead of Miami just due to all the top 25 wins. And the committee is telling you, hey, we don't really care about how bad Alabama's losses are. We just care about the top 25 wins. The reason Alabama got the nod over Miami, may I remind you, is because Bama went 3-1 in top 25 games and Miami went 0-1. One part of me says that they should still get in because they played the extra game and they'd be 11-2, but the other half is saying I don't think so because of their strength of schedule and ranked wins. Bama's 3-1, and if SMU loses, they'd be 0-2. And that's where I'm at. It's just hard to look at SMU going 0-2 in top 25 games, not beating anybody, and say, oh yeah, they're one of the best 12 teams. Robert said SMU also would have 0 ranked losses, and Alabama would have check notes too. At some point, we have to look at who you lost to, not just who you beat. Great. And I mean, great comment. The Tennessee fan says, I think it's pathetic that Alabama is, I've never seen that word in my life, groveling? Hope I'm saying that correctly. Like this to even be in the conversation. Vandy and Oklahoma? Really? The tie deserves the Tidy Bowl. Certainly not the CFP. Hey, I agree. They don't even deserve to be in. Oh, as a Buckeye, so we got a Little Bro State fan. Yes, y'all should be in, referring to Bama, I assume. We see the potential. Not many teams this year can say crap unless you're an Oregon fan. That's a good point. I think the reason so many people just don't want Alabama to get in is because, number one, people have Bama fatigue. They're tired of Bama being in every single playoff. Number two, people hate Alabama. And then number three, the most important part, people know Bama can beat anybody. People want to see SMU get in because they know SMU ain't got a chance to win the college football championship, and that's just a cold hard fact. Alabama's got the talent. SMU, yeah, not really. Raheem Jones says, shout out to Raheem, leaves a lot of comments. I appreciate that. If SMU should be in no matter what, then what's stopping us from saying the same for Boise State? Oh, dude, that's just what I was talking about. Shout out to Raheem. He read my mind. SMU's strength of schedule is 75, while Boise State's is 86. Both have one loss, but Boise's is by 3 at Oregon, while SMU's is to BYU at home. And Boise got a Heisman contending running back, just saying. Great. Hold on, I got a great comment. This is coming from a Cal fan. SMU should be in already. Case closed. Conference championship games should only help you. No argument there. Bama has had good wins, but also really bad losses. SMU's one loss was close and before the quarterback change. Other top 10 teams lack great wins too. That's probably one of the better comments out here, and that's a good point. Teams like Indiana, they don't have good wins. Heck, teams like Texas don't have good wins. And I saw a few people saying this. At this point in time, when it comes to who is more deserving and who's the best, it's all subjective. It just depends what argument you want to make up because, let's be honest, if Ole Miss and Indiana play tomorrow and I told you got to bet your house on the game or your apartment, your car, something important to you, I don't think many of you are actually going to pick Indiana to beat Ole Miss. However, Indiana only has one loss, Ole Miss has 3, so I think we all agree that Indiana should be in over Ole Miss. It would be the same thing at Alabama SMU, right? Tell me I'm wrong. If Alabama SMU play tomorrow and you had to bet on the game, who are you picking? Alabama. But if SMU only loses to Clemson by, let's just say for sake of this video, 7 points, I think a lot of people are going to say, yeah, they lost, but they had a decent regular season. Alabama had 3 losses, lost to Vandy, lost to OU. SMU probably deserves that last spot. But then you start contradicting yourself because it's like, well, the college football playoff isn't supposed to go to the most, or the goal of the college football playoff committee isn't supposed to put the most deserving teams in, it's supposed to put the best teams. If you put the most deserving teams in, Florida State, let me remind you, the Seminoles last year would have made it in. They were the most deserving. They won all the games, not to say Alabama that wasn't a great team, but Florida State literally couldn't have done any better. They went undefeated. But if we're going to say the goal of the playoff committee is to put the best teams, I don't know how you put SMU in over Alabama, but that's just me. I wouldn't pick SMU to beat Alabama if they played tomorrow, and neither would you, so I'd put Alabama in. But like I said, you just start to contradict yourself because you can do that with a bunch of teams. You can do the same thing for Indiana. Another good example, I don't have Ohio State ranked below Penn State, but the committee does. Do any of you watching this video, if you had to pick tomorrow Ohio State or Penn State, are y'all going to pick Penn State to win that game? Probably not. This whole playoff thing of who's more deserving, who's the best, who's earned it, it's all subjective. That's all it is. And they're trying to do their best job of combine all those 3 things I just said. Who's earned it, who's more deserving, and who do we think eye test is the better team? You just try to combine all those elements, but at the end of the day, how do you decipher which element holds more weight? As where it stands for me, just due to everything I just said, with it being a subjective matter, I don't think there's a wrong choice. If the committee decided to go with SMU if they lose by 10, 14 points, I'd say, oh yeah, I understand it. Alabama, 3 losses, lost to Vandy, lost to Oklahoma. I get it. On the flip side, if they decide to go with Bama, I'd also understand that, because I can look at SMU and go, yep, they went 0-2 against top 25 teams. Not very good. I do want to say this, though. I'm actually baffled at the amount of people that think SMU's locked into the playoff, even if they lose this game. I'm telling you right now, that is not true. That's far from the case. The chairman even stated if SMU loses, they're not locked in. So I don't know why people are running with that narrative. I guess it's because they just don't want to see Bama in, but I don't know. It's kind of the same thing I've said the past couple of weeks. Alabama is going to sneak back into the playoff, and people are like, yeah, there's no way the committee's going to rank them ahead of Miami, South Carolina, and yeah, we saw what happened. For anybody that watches college football to think that the committee's not going to have a legit and serious conversation if SMU loses, who should get in, Alabama or SMU, you just don't know what you're talking about. It must be the same people that thought Florida State was going to get that final spot, even if they just won all their games. And you saw what happened there. That didn't happen. And the committee looked like geniuses last year by putting Alabama in, because we saw what happened to Florida State in the Georgia game. That was ugly. And of course, Alabama played a great game against Michigan, came up a little short in overtime. So committee didn't look dumb there either. We'll read off 2 more comments. There's 100 of them. I wish I could read them all, but I don't want to make this video 30 minutes long. End Zone Leprechaun said, I don't care if SMU, I assume this is a Notre Dame fan because his name's Leprechaun. I don't care if SMU loses to Clemson by 45 points. They shouldn't drop completely out of playoff contention. Well, considering this is a Notre Dame fan, you kind of know why he's saying this. Notre Dame doesn't have good history with Alabama. Not saying that way into his decision, but I feel like it might have. G said, and this is our final comment, it's championship game. Even if they lose by 60, they shouldn't get punished for it. And I strongly disagree with that. They lose by 60, they not getting in over Bam. I'll tell you that right now. I know he's exaggerating, but dude, if SMU even loses by 30, they ain't getting in. And here's why I disagree with it. It's because you have a flawed argument. If you want to say, well, it's championship game, even if they lose by 60, they shouldn't get punished. Well, what about Boise? You know they're going to get punished if they lose, right? Boise, as where it stands today, would make the playoff. If they lose, they're not going to, so I guess you just didn't think about that. For me, like I said, I don't think there's a wrong answer, but it really just depends on how SMU looks against Clemson. If they play a solid ball game, comes down to a last-second field goal, SMU will more than likely get the nod. And I would say for me, if that happens, and I think SMU looks legit, I would give them the nod. But if Clemson goes out here and just kind of has their way with them, runs the ball down their throats, in the trenches, it's obvious that SMU can't compete with the big boys, and we'll just say, for the sake of this video, Clemson wins by 14 points, I'd put Alabama in. Because let me remind you, Clemson isn't some top 3 team. They got beat by South Carolina, and I respect South Carolina, but they have 3 losses. They're ranked, where are they, 17th? They're not very good themselves. So if Clemson, who's not good, beats SMU, what does it say about SMU? You see what I'm saying? It actually hurts SMU's case a lot that Clemson is having a bad season, because if Clemson was ranked number 2 in the nation and beat SMU by 20, SMU's still getting in. But since Clemson ain't good, yeah, that's going to hurt them. Many more things I could say. I got a busy night on my hands. I'm sure you guys are busy as well. Let me know your thoughts down below. But bye-bye.